All right, joining me now is former big league pitcher, a guy who spent 15 years in the major, including stints with both the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. His name is Ray Burris. In 1979, Ray was traded to the Yankees midseason. He became teammates with the late Thurman Munson, and with the 46th anniversary of Munson's tragic passing upon us, Ray is here to share some of his memories of that time and what made Munson such a beloved leader, and his unique perspective, having pitched on both sides of town. And now joining me is the great Ray Burris. Here with me now, Ray. How you doing, sir?
Doing wonderful, Dexter. I can't complain, my friend.
Good. Glad you're good. You were just telling me about how you're enjoying the heat in Florida. That is good, despite some people who don't like the heat at this time of year. I'm glad that you are enjoying it. But here to talk a little baseball with you, Ray. And in '79, back in 1979, the Cubs, they traded you to the Yankees in late May. Can you take us through the experience of joining a highly visible franchise in a big city like New York, going from Chicago, another big city, to New York, and putting on the pinstripes? What was that like for you?
It was a difference. It was my first trade in my career, Dexter. And for me, that first trade was very traumatic. You're leaving friends that you grew up with in the business in Chicago, and you go into another city and developing new friends with the teammates there. When I got to New York, that trade occurred on May 23rd, 1979. We were in Chicago playing the Mets at that time, and I get a call from Bob Kennedy, the general manager. We were staying at the Sheraton downtown in Manhattan. 9:30 in the morning, I get a call from him saying, Ray, this is good morning. I said, good morning. This is Bob Kennedy. I said, how you doing, Mr. Kennedy? He said, I got good news and bad news. So I'm thinking, interesting. Good news and bad news. He said, you've been traded to the Yankees. I said, is that the good news or the bad news? And he said, that's the good news. I said, well, what's the bad news? He said, you got to get up, pack, and get to Shea Stadium and get your ball bag and catch a plane out of LaGuardia to join the team in Minneapolis at 1 o'clock. And this is 9:30. Yeah. So I'm hustling, bustling. I'm catching a cab. They got my bag packed at the ballpark. I get to the ballpark, get my bag, go over to LaGuardia, which happened to not be far from Shea Stadium, and catch my plane into Minneapolis. I get to Minneapolis. Bob Lemon is the manager. We go in. I get there. I go to the ballpark, check in at the hotel, take my bag to the ballpark. The game is going on. I get dressed. I go into the dugout, and I introduce myself to Bob Lemon. And this was the words that came out of his mouth. He said, Ray, he said, just sit here. I know you've been traveling all day. I'm not going to use you in this game, but I need you ready for tomorrow, which meant I was going in the bullpen at that time. So we finished that game. We win the game. Now we're going to Cleveland, Ohio to play the Indians. And we get to the ballpark the next day. I get in the game in the bottom of the seventh inning. We lose the game. My first loss as a New York Yankee, my first loss in the American League. Now, I'm feeling pretty down when you think about it. I'm in my locker, and I feel this hand on the back of my shoulder, and I look back, and it's Bob Lemon. He says, Ray, I don't need you walling in your self-pity right now. I need you ready for tomorrow because I'm going to use you again tomorrow. That experience never left me. I use that in my coaching career all the time. The next day, I'm trying to think who's pitching. Lefty's pitching for us, Tommy John. Mm-hmm. Tommy John is pitching. He comes out in the sixth inning. I'm coming in to pitch in the bottom of the seventh. Sid Monge is pitching for the Cleveland Indians. And Lou Piniella hits a home run off of Sid Monge. We go up 4-3. I come in and go 2 innings, and we win the game. My first win in the big leagues, back to back. I get my first loss in the American League. I get my first win in the American League as a member of the New York Yankees. So now I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. But here was the meat of that event. It's what Bob Lemon told me the night before. Yeah. You don't have the time to wallow in your self-pity. I need you to come to the ballpark tomorrow ready to pitch. And I never forgot that, Dexter. I use that every time as a pitching coach in the minor leagues, through the minor league teams that I played for.
And you're able to help other people, right? Because it's so important to be able to bounce back. That is the thing I take from that
Absolutely.
story, right? The importance of
Absolutely.
bouncing back, and
Yeah.
you were able to do this.
Absolutely.
So, 1979, you get traded. I'm so glad you shared that story about being traded, because I think sometimes people forget the human element of it, right? You have to just
Yeah.
pack everything up, the people you're with,
Yes.
and then you got to leave. But
Yeah.
now you're on this Yankee roster. Do you remember the first time you met Thurman Munson, excuse me, and did you have any history with Thurman beforehand, since you had
Absolutely.
pitched
I
in the
remember the
NL
first time.
exclusively until that point? Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I pitched to him was in Cleveland,
Mm.
and he came to me in the dugout and reassured me. He said, "Hey, we're still in this ball game. You go out there and let's go one pitch at a time. Let's go one hitter at a time. Let's get outs." And the thing that Thurman brought to me was the leadership as a catcher. And I respected that, because as a catcher, you're out there, you're kind of the quarterback of the ball club. You got the whole field in front of you. You can see defensive alignments. You can tell if that second baseman was a little too more toward the bag or more toward the hole based on how we're going to pitch that hitter. So he's kind of the second manager on the field. And that's what Thurman brought to the field, in my opinion. He was very, very competitive. He was very into helping you be successful behind the plate by calling the pitches that he knew you could command and control and get hitters out. With Bob Lemon had a manager's mentality from a pitcher's standpoint, because he was a Hall of Fame pitcher. So he could give you pointers on little things from a pitching standpoint that help you be successful. Because remember now, Dexter, this is my first time in the American League. I didn't know the hitters.
Right.
So I had to learn the hitters. So with guys like Thurman, with guys like Chris Chambliss, with guys like Willie Randolph, with guys like Mickey Rivers, they helped me to understand the pitching, how to get this guy out. And that's what I needed at that point in time, because, hey, I'm getting traded. I got traded for Dick Tidrow. Dick Tidrow was very popular in New York. So I'm going to New York from Chicago. Tidrow's going from New York to Chicago, and I'm there to try to make the trade look good. And that's where the element comes in, humanly speaking. You want to make that trade looks good. You want to do more. The issue with that is sometimes you get too high, and that don't allow you to pitch according to your capabilities. And then you try to tone it down to get back to that rhythm, that tempo, that emotional stance that you want to have to go out and compete with. And when I say getting too high, meaning you're trying to do too much. When I say getting too low, you're not doing enough. So I had to find that happy medium for Ray Burris to help me go out and compete. And I didn't pitch a lot with the Yankees. I was there for 3 months, and then I went to the New York Mets, where Joe Torre was the manager. So in the year of '79, I played for the Chicago Cubs, New York Yankees, and New York Mets in the same year.
That's a lot of packing your bags. That's what I hear right there. That's a lot of packing your bags, for sure on that. But let me ask,
I don't know.
I mean to cut you off, but let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
That's a lot of bag packing. That had to be tough. But you talked about how you met Thurman in Cleveland, right? And
Yes,
you
sir.
talked about how he was sort of the quarterback on the field, and I like that for the catcher. But how did you guys get to know each other as a battery? How did he learn how to catch you when you were as you said, new pitcher on the team, hadn't been in the American League before, a lot of adjustments for you. So how did you guys build chemistry even in the 3 months that you were there with the Yankees?
I talked to him. I talked to him. I asked him questions, and he enjoyed that, because he saw that I was curious enough to understand how am I going to get Rod Carew out? How am I going to get some of the hitters in the American League at that time, Ricky Henderson? You know, I hadn't faced them because I've been in the National League my whole career. So he gave me pointers, and I would ask Chris Chambliss. I'd ask Willie Randolph. I'd ask Mickey Rivers. Those were guys that helped me to understand, because they were hitters. They knew the hitters in the American League. And Thurman was very instrumental from a catching standpoint. And we talked about my pitch sequences. We talked about my pitches. I threw a slider, change, and a fastball. But I was a sinking fastball. So I was a sinking slider pitcher. And if I rated my pitches, Fastball was my best pitch. Slider was my second best pitch. Changeup was my third best pitch. Now, with me saying that, I could still control those pitches in the strike zone. So hitters couldn't subtract pitches from me. I threw them all at any given time. I had the confidence to do that. But my overall bread and butter was my sinking fastball. And I had a lot of movement, Dexter, a lot of movement on my pitches.
Yeah, and Munson helped you get the best out of you for your short time with the Yankees. What qualities, because you mentioned this, you said Thurman Munson was a really good leader, and a lot of people have spoken about that when it comes to talking about him. Yeah. What qualities made him such a good leader, and why was he the heart of the team, according to so many players that have talked about him? What made him such a good leader?
What made him a good leader for me was the fact that he kept you in a competitive spirit. He could tell if you were letting off. He could tell if you weren't where you were not where you're supposed to be. So he would call timeout, come out to the mound, and kind of pump you up. Say, "Look here, Ray, I need everything you got on this pitch. We got to get this guy out. Don't you shortchange me, and don't you shortchange yourself, and definitely don't you shortchange the New York Yankees. We're here to win." So that leadership helped me compete to the fullest of my personality, to the fullest of my talent. And every time I got that ball, I went out there like it was no tomorrow. Now, did the results reveal that? Not all the time, but it wasn't because I wasn't giving it everything I had.
Yeah, and Thurman was somebody who demanded the best out of his teammates. So you like that. Could you take us through how you learned of the tragic news of his passing, and how was this awful reality communicated to you and the rest of the Yankees team? How did you learn about it?
That was a sad day, August the 10th, 1979. Willie Randolph and I were fishing on the Long Island Sound. It was an off day. And we're fishing for bluefish. And we heard it on the radio. And at that point in time, we just had to stop. I didn't want to fish anymore. Willie didn't want to fish anymore. We decided to go on in, and we were trolling for bluefish on the Long Island Sound when we heard it on the radio. And Dexter, it was devastating.
Yeah, I think
It really was.
I think when in sports, Ray, I mean, anytime we lose somebody, but you can see the emotion coming through you, just see as you were talking about it. It had to be comforting somewhat to have your teammate there, Willie Randolph, with you. I would think a teammate who you've been with, somebody who was helping you adjust to the team, that meant something to have him there with you in that moment, I would assume, correct?
It definitely was. It was comforting. He was comforting to me. I was comforting to him. And we didn't know the logistics of what had happened. We just heard he had crashed, landing in Canton, Ohio, at the airport. We didn't know what had happened, what the circumstances were. And I remember we chartered a plane. We flew into Canton, Ohio. That's when I learned how treacherous the crosswinds were when we were landing. And that was one of the elements that caused him to crash, was the crosswinds. And the sadness at the funeral, that was one of the toughest things I had ever experienced, because I had never experienced going to one of my teammates' funeral during the season. And Dexter, that took me a while to get over.
Yeah.
It took me a while to get over. That may have even affected some of my performances after that, from that point on, because I was used to seeing him behind the plate, and I had to process all of that. I had my days of mourning, I had my moments of mourning, but I had to get my head right when it came to going out and pitch for the New York Yankees. Thurman wasn't there anymore. There was nothing I could do about that. But it still was inside me. Here's a guy who helped me a lot during that time, was Jim Cott. Jim Cott helped me a lot. Jim Cott was in the bullpen during those years when I was there, and he would talk to me. And I got to see Jim Cott this past weekend at the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, and it was very special of what he meant to me at that point in time. So we all got through it. Everybody mourned differently, obviously, but we all mourned, and that was tragic. That was very, very tragic.
Yeah, and I'm glad you were able to share that, even about Willie being there for you, because I can't imagine how everybody got through the funeral, and then you guys had to go on. Baseball doesn't stop, right? And this is anytime we lose somebody, life doesn't stop. You know this, Ray. You had to play the next game against the Orioles. How did you guys? Because you said everybody grieved differently. How did you guys manage to come together and play that game? Because that had to be a very difficult game to play and series to play. How did you guys come together as a team and get through that difficult time?
We put Thurman as the motivator. That's how I came through it. I put Thurman as a motivator, like he was in the dugout, and this was for Thurman. So we played the rest of that year for Thurman, and we didn't get to the playoffs that year, but we played the rest of that year for Thurman. I got traded at the end of September to the Mets, and then I finished the season for the New York Mets, and then finished the '80 season for the New York Mets, and then went free agent and signed with the Montreal Expos. But that was how we got through it. Some guys, it was more devastating to some guys than it was for me, because I wasn't there that long, but I had created a connection with Thurman just from a battery standpoint, catcher-pitcher relationship. So I had my relationship with him. Willie Randolph had a deeper relationship with him. Chris Chemnitz had a deeper relationship with him, because they had went through more wars than I had with Thurman. But I still had my own relationship with him, so it was special to me, but heartbreaking at the same time.
Yeah, and the team did get through it and did move on. How would you describe, Ray, the impact of Thurman's loss in terms of what he meant to baseball in New York and the city itself? I know you were here for a short time, but you also then did pitch for the Mets, as you said. What did he mean to New York City?
He meant to New York City the work ethic. He meant to New York City and to me to honor and embrace hard work. Hard work should be honored. Hard work should be embraced. Hard work has a deeper meaning than just the words itself. What is hard work? It's putting in the time. It's going out there sometime playing when you're hurt. Mind over matter. If it doesn't matter, get it done. So that's what Thurman meant to me. He put on that gear every day. He came out and competed every day. He didn't have the strongest arm as a Pudge Rodriguez, but he had a quick release and he was accurate. He got it done. So that's what I try to tell young people in the world today that I work with on one-on-one instruction. Hard work is not just a word. It's an action to those words. What does hard work mean? Thurman Munson emphasized hard work. He got hit from foul balls. He would get bruised. He had more bruises than Van Camp had pork and beans. But he got out there and played. And that's what he emphasized every day. That's what I took from him. Yeah. Didn't matter how I felt. If I could walk, Dexter, I could go out there and get somebody out.
Hey.
If I had to throw it between my legs, I figured it out, my friend. That's what it's about.
I like that mentality, right? You got to bring that mentality to work every day in what you're doing. I like that. And you've got, Ray, a unique experience because you pitched, as you mentioned, for both the Yankees and the Mets. The Mets, they claimed you later that year in the season. Does pitching for the Yankees feel different than pitching for the Mets? Because I know fans are going to like this question because, a lot of baseball fans we got here in New York, they're on either side. Did it feel different to pitch for the Yanks than it did for the Mets?
Felt a lot different. And I'm going to emphasize with no negative impact to the Mets or the Yankees. I'm going to emphasize the historical side of the franchises. The Yankees have the most World Series championships in all the sports. There's not a franchise that can duplicate that. Now, the Mets have won championships. They haven't won as many as the Yankees. And so that historical side, going all the way back to Babe Ruth, coming all the way up to Joe DiMaggio, to Mickey Mantle, all of those great players. when you walk in that stadium, it's like you're in a shrine. It's like you're there, and as a home player, it's like you're in a shrine. As a visiting player, it's kind of scary.
Hmm.
You know, when I came back as a visiting player with the Oakland A's, it was kind of scary because you see all of those statues in center field. You see all those shrines in center field, all the greats that played here. It kind of gave you the chills, and it could really affect your approach to pitching from having that history behind it. So you go out there and you say, okay, I would put faces on the hitters. Okay, this is Babe Ruth. I'm going to get him out. Chambliss don't really know this. I never told him this. He was Babe Ruth. Yeah. I put Babe Ruth's face on Chambliss. So I'm going to get him out.
I like that. I like that motivation there. I like that.
Yeah. So I learned how to channel those avenues into putting players' faces on players that I was pitching against. Lou Piniella was Joe DiMaggio. You know, Willie Randolph was Bobby Richardson.
So you felt really good when you got these guys out. Really good about it.
Yeah, I know you did. I had a root beer float next to
That's how you celebrated. Okay, I like that.
I celebrated, man. So that was my way of challenging my competitiveness. I put faces on guys, and that gave me a motivation to go get them. And if I got them out, that was a mental win. Next hitter. Okay, Lou Gehrig. If I got him out, that was a mental win. You know,
you're just out here taking down Yankee greats. That's what you're doing. Well, out here taking down Yankee greats in your mind.
Dexter, I tried in every possible way, whatever it took. Man.
Hey, I respect it. I respect it, and I think the point you made, Ray. You know, when you're talking about the Yankees and Mets, that wouldn't matter, right? You got to talk about it from a historical context because some Mets fans might hear that. They might feel a little bit salty about it, but there's no comparison in a historical context there, right? And just what
not in a historical standpoint, but you know what, Dexter? That's not taking anything away from the Mets. Right. They took me in and gave me the ball and then allowed me to pitch. I was thankful I pitched for the Mets in the old Shea Stadium and the players I played with. And the adversaries that I went against. But I'm thankful for both franchises because I had the opportunity to play for both.
Yes.
And that's what makes it special. But, you know, the historical side of the Yankees over the Mets is not from a team name standpoint. It's just from the historical side.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, completely understood. Last thing for me here, Ray. What are your impressions of the Yankees and Mets at this point in the season? And, you know, where do you think both these teams can go? Which team do you think has a better chance of going far in the playoffs right now?
I think they both do. I think it depends on how well their bullpens hold up from this point on. Because that's going to be a big key is can you hold leads going in the seventh inning on? That's going to be huge. So the bullpen becomes a very important component at this time of the year. And both teams are going to go through a bad time. Both teams are going to go through losses. But can we get hot at the right time? And both teams can get hot at the right time. Anybody can get hot at the right time that's in the running for the thing. So, here are my key factors, Dexter.
Yep.
Injuries, performance, how well the bullpen holds up, and hitting the baseball and making plays.
That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do to win. You made a good point there, Ray. It's a long season. Neither of these teams can get hot. They've had their swoons. The Yankees haven't been playing so well recently. The Mets had lost 13 out of 17 games earlier, last month. Okay. Baseball's a long season. Just gotta get hot at the right time.
But think about it. Mm-hmm. You don't want to have that losing season going into the middle of September.
Oh, hey, I've seen that before. Now. Yeah, if you're gonna have it now. You don't want that in September. I've seen that before, and I've not been happy about it.
I mean, you think about it. The Atlanta Braves won their division on 88 wins and won the World Series with 88 wins.
Yeah. Yep.
So anything, they got hot at the right time, Dexter.
That's all that matters.
Anything can happen, my friend. That's what it's about.
You're You're right, sir.
And here's another thing. Look at all the teams that you don't have the norm. Back in my day, Yankees, Dodgers. Cardinals were creeping there every now and then. Then you'd have the Minnesota Twins. Then you'd have the San Francisco Giants that won it every year, 2010, 2012, 2014. Then the Cardinals snuck in 2011. Then you had the Boston Red Sox come off, and then you had the Cubs creeping there. Then you had the Texas Rangers creeping there for the first time. So that's what makes baseball intriguing to me, is that you don't have the same teams every year. There's a new team coming off the board. There's a new team in town. Like the old Westerns. There's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah, and we'll see who it is. Hopefully the Yankees and Mets win. That's what the city would like to see. But
I'll tell you what.
Yes.
If the Yankees and Mets win, I'll come to New York. We'll go to dinner.
Done. If that happens, we're gonna have a lot of stories to talk about over dinner. So Ray, I'm gonna hold you to that. If the Yankees and Mets win, you have to come to New York. We're gonna have to have dinner. We'll talk a lot of baseball stories. Done? Sounds good?
I raise my right hand. hand.
See, you're a man I know that's serious when you raise your right hand. Some people might raise their right hand, they might not be serious. I know you're serious.
No, I'm raising my right hand.
All right.
Because I know there's a nonstop flight on JetBlue right into New York.
There we go. I like that. I like that. Folks, that is Ray Burris, former relief pitcher, pitched for both the Yankees and the Mets, was generous enough to give us some time to talk about the legendary Thurman Munson and the Mets and Yankees thus far this season. Ray, I appreciate you. We're going to stay in touch. I hope I see you for that dinner.
Yes, sir. We will break bread together.
All right.
Even if we have to go to Carmine's for dinner and Vierno's for dessert.
You got good taste.
Come on now.
You got good taste.
Come on.
I'm with you now. All right. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you guys.